It's Thursday, December 19th. You've got Goose, and you're entering into the core, brought to you by Zell Core Plus, the one cryptocurrency wallet for all your custody and trading needs. For more info on Zell Core Plus, check out Zell.network. Guys, I'm so excited to have on the core Crypto Chris Walken and Meanhash from the HashR8 team. So I would just like to say, welcome aboard, guys. It's so good to have you on the core.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. Yeah, everybody all at once. We got the internet lag thing going on here, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and push through this. And the good news is that a lot of very interesting things are happening with HashR8. And if you are new to the crypto space, I'm sure you've got to at least got to have some handle on the way in which cryptocurrency is created, if you will, and mining is really at the center of most cryptocurrencies. So this project here is focusing on that particular aspect of cryptocurrency, basically verification of transactions and generating the cryptocurrency. So why don't we go ahead and start with Crypto Chris Walken? Why don't you give us a little about yourself, how you got started in the space, where you're coming from?
Yeah, so I'll try to be quick with it. So I first heard about Bitcoin back in 2010. A buddy of mine on the boat with me was mining it with a couple of super crappy HP desktops in his garage. I found out about it that way. Tried it out myself. It only mined a little bit of it. I had no idea what it was. Thought it was stupid, so I didn't do anything else after that. 2011, they released the first GPU miner. My same buddy told me about it. And I decided to start mining it, and that's when I started going down the rabbit hole a little bit. Built my first actual mining rig in 2012. It was a couple like 4850 GPUs, old AMD cards. Fast forward a little bit, I got hit by good old Mt. Gox in 2014, got out, came back in 2016, jumped in when Ethereum started first popping off, started GPU mining that. Fast forward a little more. Sold most of it in the initial pump when it hit $300 and thought I was a genius, and then we all saw it go to 1,500. So whatever. But that built the rest of my mining rigs. I still didn't do anything social media wise. I didn't really pop into that until about 2018. We'll talk more about HashR8 later on. But yeah, I ended up building my initial Telegram. That's how I ended up meeting up with Meanhash. After that, built the Discord, which the Discord has gone pretty crazy. It's at almost 3,000 people now. And then, yeah, we got our HashR8 podcast and everything else. So that's me as quick as possible.
Fantastic. Wow. That's an excellent, dude, you've been around for a long time. I mean, Bitcoin got its start in 2009 and you're there around 2011, you said?
Yeah, I first mined it into 2010.
Man. Ended 2010. So, I mean, were you using your CPU then?
Yep. There wasn't a GPU miner yet.
I mean, that's really cool that you were there at the from the very beginning, before Mt. Gox, any of that stuff. Awesome. What about you, Meanhash? Where do you hail from, and what's your background in the whole crypto space?
So mine actually comes from a little bit different of a space than Walken. So I had heard about Bitcoin, wasn't really all that interested in it when it was worth not very much money. Then it pumped up to, a pretty good amount. I think it was close to like $1,000. And then it dumped all the way back down to like $250 in 2014. And surprisingly enough, my father actually convinced me that was a good time to buy some Bitcoin. So I bought some Bitcoin on Coinbase way back in the day, which a lot of people weren't using, but got lucky that I bought it on there and not on something like Mt. Gox, and then held it since then. And so it ended up working out really well for me. That being said, I got into building gaming computers. Basically, I was fed up with the performance of like the current gen gaming consoles. So I got into building gaming computers.
Well, around what time was that?
I think I built my first gaming computer in like 2013. But I didn't actually start mining any cryptocurrency until about the end of 2015. And really what happened is I got connected with a parts distributor that was like a computer shop that did computer repairs, and I was able to buy computer parts really cheap. So I started buying parts for gaming computers and then just finding people to buy them instead of like taking an order for a computer and building the computer out. I just bought tons of computer parts and put computers together and then sold the computers finished. And then I realized that I was getting the GPUs for an unbelievably good price, so I should see if I could mine on them. So I started mining on them, and kind of got lucky that it was like right into this very beginning of the next monster bull run. So instead of, being one of those people that was like, oh, I only mine ETH or I only mine BTC, I was born and bred a shitcoin miner. I've been mining tons and tons of whatever projects I possibly could from the very beginning. So I kind of come from a little bit of a different background. And so, that's kind of how I got into it. And, I've come to find that, I think that lots of different projects end up having stuff that it's cool or ends up being successful. And, a lot of the projects when I started mining them, people were like, oh, this is a joke. There's no way it'll last. What's a privacy coin? And now a lot of them have been around for years. And when, I look back when Ethereum had been around for 2 years, people were like, oh, it's going to be the next Bitcoin. Now you have a lot of projects that are still actively being developed that have been around for more than 2 years. So, I think the competition has gotten good, and, I enjoy diving into white papers and doing fundamental analysis on different projects before I decide what I'm going to mine. So.
Nice. And so when it comes to your relationship with Walken here and the HashR8 podcast, how did that get started?
So I met Walken through his Discord. Well, actually through his Telegram. And then we kind of met randomly online, and he was bringing people together to talk about what coins to mine. And a big part of it is especially like through 2017 and up, there were so many new coins launching all the time that for any of us, it was more than we could handle to keep up with all of them. So we kind of got together to talk about, well, what hardware are you using? What have you done to your rigs to make them be more efficient, run cooler, etc.? And what coins are you mining? Because at that point in time, like there wasn't as nearly as many tools even as there are now to decide what projects to mine. And so we kind of, I think I was like maybe like the 7th or 8th person in that Telegram. And it really started around everybody being like, well, these are the projects that I'm looking at. What projects are you looking at? And then all of us kind of discussing what our favorite ones were and deciding which ones we were going to mine. And then from there, Walken's Telegram just exploded, and he can kind of talk more about how it went from there to where we are now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you've seen several different waves, huh, Walken, from the very beginning there? You said you were around for that first bull run and then the second one in 2017. So what was it like experiencing your Telegram and Discord starting to blow up as people started to jump in and talk more about crypto?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy because it was kind of just all of a sudden. And I mean, it kind of goes to show like how small the space really is right now. Because if you look at especially like crypto Twitter, it really is just like the same people, and it's been the same core people for about this 2 years now, basically. So this will actually kind of lead into how HashR8 became HashR8. So yeah, I had my Telegram group that like Meanhash said, it started with like maybe 10 of us, and then what we actually started doing was me and him were involved helping out with Honey Miner at the time because they were kind of doing what I was trying to do. Like my whole reason that I came to the social media front was because of basically the lack of education when it came to mining. And I was looking at a lot of the people that were making YouTube channels, and they were leading people astray because at this point, this was late 2017. ETH was booming, graphics cards were 3 times the price, and you had all these people that are like, oh, mine this, buy this card. And I'm like, you know, as myself, before people knew who I was, my actual name, YouTube account, being like, you know, hey, price is rocketing. This isn't a good time to get into mining right now. People are going to get wrecked. And then a certain YouTuber answered back and was like, if you can do better, do it yourself. And that was basically what made me do it. So
Game on.
I came to the social media side. I started my little Telegram group, and I basically just started plucking people from other Telegram groups, because I would just go in there, talk about mining, and, you know, it'd be small little groups of people. Oh, I'm a miner, and they'd join my group. And then, like Meanhash said, basically in a span of, I would say we started in May to September, it went from like 20 to 1,000 people. Like everybody charged in, and it was great because more than, I'd say, half were people that were either brand new or had never mined before. So we got a bunch of new miners, and that was also how I started learning, you know, how much Meanhash knew. And at the time, I was total AMD fanboy. I had never mined on an NVIDIA card. Like, I'd been AMD the entire time. So he was like my other half, because I didn't know shit about NVIDIA at the time. So if people had NVIDIA questions, I'd be like, hey, Meanhash, you wanna help out over here? But I'm all NVIDIA now. I crossed over to the dark side. But anyway, so
you could say you cross over to the side of versatility. You know,
versatility and maximum efficiency is what I will say.
For sure. Yeah.
So as for hash rate, so it all kind of worked out pretty crazy. So I was with Honey Miner at the time. This was around June, July of last year. And I was also in this group called Bitcoin Masons, which I don't know if you know, like Nick Core and all those guys, they're traders. They had their own Discord group. So they pulled me in there because they knew I was in mining. So that was where I met Will Bearman. So I ended up going to the Voice of Blockchain in Chicago. I think this was September of last year. And I ended up meeting with Will Bearman. And then Bitcoin Broski, he was with Bitcoin Bravado at the time, with Bitcoin Birch and all those guys. And what was funny was he reached out to me before the conference to have me on his podcast as a guest. And the same for Will Bearman. So I ended up meeting up with Broski, Birch, all those guys in Chicago, talking to them. And then also Will Bearman. So we all ended up going out, talking, drinking, whatever, you know. And then after that, we all went our separate ways. We did our podcast episodes with Broski. About a month later, because I talked to Birch a lot while I was there, they wanted us to do a live stream on Bitcoin Bravado's YouTube channel. So we started Miners Oasis. That was the first iteration of HashR8. We started doing this. Basically, it was like a weekly live stream. We talk mining, whatever. And then people in my community were telling us, you know, you guys should do a podcast. Everyone's doing podcasts. We're like, all right. So we started throwing names around, trying to figure out what we wanted to call ourselves. So we came up with HashR8. And the first iteration, we thought we were cool. And it was H4SHR8, you know, cypherpunk, super cool. And then it confused people. So then we got rid of the 4. But basically through our conversations that we had, guests that we had on, we kind of realized that there was stuff missing in the mining community. And we, you know, between our network of each other, the people that we knew, we wanted to build something. So at the time, we weren't thinking about having our own OS. We were tossing around the idea of basically trying to build an app on top of someone else's OS. But which will segue into Meanhash talking about our OS. He was kind of the one that, so it was just the 3 of us at the time. And then I brought up Meanhash because all of my talks with him and the Telegram, and then at this point I had my Discord. I was like, we really need to get Meanhash in here. So we brought Meanhash on a call, and then that spirals to him. Yeah,
so they basically brought me in to do a guest appearance on the podcast, and you know, I got to talking to them, and we kind of had like a private chat going that we talked in for a while. And you know what after talking to them for a little while, I basically was like, you know, we should just look at trying to do our own OS and not just building apps to run on somebody else's. A lot of the operating systems that are out there were open source. There was a lot of different companies that were out there that were building operating systems. So, I kind of just started poking around to find who I thought that we could have be a partner of ours to work with to build an OS. And we found a development team that we work with now that helped us build the whole back end. We basically worked with them for 7 or 8 months of doing testing and running it on rigs and helping them redesign the front end of it. And that's still a constant, never-ending, ongoing process, and probably will be forever.
Hmm.
But we found something that we really liked, and there was a few things about it from a technical standpoint that we liked right out of the gate. One, it was completely custom built Linux distribution, so it wasn't something where it was just like a skinned version of Ubuntu or basically a poached version of somebody else's Debian miner. This was something that was built from the ground up. So it gave it a lot of advantages because it was able to remove a lot of bloat. It wasn't, a Linux desktop operating system that somebody had turned into a headless mining operating system. This was Linux compiled and built to be a headless operating system.
Mm.
And so, there was things like that we really thought that we could do, and make changes to it that would make it be better than what was out in the market. And one of the big things that we really wanted to do better, and we strive really hard with this, and the HashR8 Discord is full of great people that help, is that all the other mining operating systems that we had used, and being miners, we had all used tons, whether it be even Windows or different versions of Linux, or actual mining operating systems that are out there. Um, there wasn't really like the type of help or open door policy that we wanted. Especially coming from a standpoint of having tons of rigs, you feel like you should be able to go to the company that you're paying a bunch of money to every month and be like, hey, this doesn't work the way that it should work, or hey, I think it would work better if it does this. And they should respect that feedback and look at being like, okay, how can we make this change? This dude pays us a bunch of money. He probably has really good feedback. He's obviously a miner. Maybe we should take a look or poll the rest of the users and see if it's something we want to implement. And everywhere we ran into, people were just slamming doors in our face, basically being like, you don't know what you're talking about, or we're not going to build that for you, or just completely ignoring the commentary altogether.
Well, it
And
seems
so,
interesting to me that you're dealing with companies that develop software, right? So
yeah,
you're like a customer at that point, right?
yeah. So we kind of decided, like, well, we think that we know enough that we could, build our own OS and build our own front end and add stuff and have it work the way that we want, and that will be better than what's on the market. But the other thing that we were like is there's probably thousands of other users that want to use an operating system where they can say, hey, this doesn't really operate the way we want it to. What about if we do it this way, and have the development team actually like look into it and say, you know what, that is a good idea. And so, we kind of decided that we just wanted to go down that path. And so, we set up a new Discord that's for the HashR8 users, that anybody who's using the OS can come into and talk about mining. They can provide feedback. We have a huge ongoing list of things that we're adding and reworking all the time to fix and update anything that people want to get changed. We're working with big mines to add specific features for them. And as we kind of went down this path and we had people providing us feedback when we were first going, one of the things that we constantly got asked about was, well, there's no operating systems that have the wallets built into them. So
Hmm.
anytime you're mining, you basically have to have multiple things open to say, okay, I'm mining. This is what my rig's doing. Here's a tab that's open that has the pool I'm mining to. And then let me get my separate laptop out that I keep all my individual wallets stored on. And, we constantly were getting asked about that, and it just is like not a convenient way to do it. And so at that time, we were like, maybe we should look at what options there are that we could, try and integrate some wallet features into the web app, and see, if there's anyone out there that wanted to partner with us. And at that time, some people may know, some people not. I'm a really big fan of the Zell wallet in general. The mobile wallet, I remember when it launched, it's still the most user-friendly multi-coin wallet I've seen on a mobile device. And I really think some of the cool features that you guys are adding, the Crux Pay and things like that, are game changers for when it comes to mass adoption of cryptocurrency.
That's a real creature comfort there, to be able to assign a name to your wallet so that you can receive crypto to your name, like an email address.
Yeah.
Love it.
And so, at that time, I basically went into the Zell Discord, which I had been following and a part of for a while, and shot Dan and Miles messages and was like, hey guys, we need to talk. I think I got something that we can all work on together. And at that point in time, everything that we were doing with HashR8 was still in the dark. So it hadn't been made public yet. There was a handful of us that were using it. We were hand picking testers to come in and use it. So, I think we had maybe 20 people that had even installed it at all. And, we kind of brought them in, and right away, Miles and Dan were like, this is exactly what we've been looking for, because the Zell wallet in general supports a ton of mineable coins.
Right.
And they then even suggested the idea of, well, let's add the ability to look up wallet balances and, down the line, even create new or add new coins inside of your platform. And then they're like, but what we should also do is take some of the controls and some of the monitoring of the rigs and everything else and put it in the Zell Core app, so that, it has kind of a seamless, system, so that, if you want to look at your wallet balances and you just have the Zell Core app open and you're trading, you can check your rig real quick without having to go to another system. Or if you're in and you're working on mining and you're trying to see how many of a coin you have, or you're trying to say, oh, I'm going to mine this new coin and I just need to add it as one of the supported Zell Core coins and then start mining to that address. So, we saw a lot of synergies right away, and, amazingly got along with those guys great right out of the gate. So, we just decided that it was the way to go forward.
These are good people, Dan and Miles. They really they are miners themselves, and they love cryptocurrency, and they're really trying to find new, innovative ways to kind of transform the crypto space. And I think this is going to be a huge step forward for the mining community, especially, but also for crypto in general, because, like you said, we've already got that one innovative Crux Pay kind of solution, making it easy to receive crypto. And then what about making it easy for you to monitor your mining rigs, or change something about your mining rigs if you want to switch from mining Ethereum over to mining Zell or some other coin? You could do that right from the monitoring app, right? So really cool features. Before we, I'd like to get a little bit more in depth with the relationship between HashR8 and Zell, but I also want to kind of talk about HashR8 and Zell. I noticed there's two websites, and right now I have a splash up of the HashR8.com website. Of course, we've got a little image there of the cell phone with the app on it, so you can see sort of the monitoring that's going on. But this also has links to HashR8 OS, which you can follow, and that'll take you over to the HashR8 OS website. But what you guys were initially talking about was the podcast. And so there's a section right in the middle of the website there that gives you access to all of the different episodes that you've done. We're up to 49 episodes right now on cryptocurrency, and all of that inside information that you guys are talking about over on your Telegram channels and the Discord channels, right?
Yeah, the podcast has been great. We have our core following, which mostly it is people that are in Discord and Telegram. But again, like we keep bringing up community, right? And it's the same thing with our Discord for HashR8. That's the big thing that we push is community. That's why we're there to help people. Like if someone comes in with a question, we're there to do it for them, and that's what I've done since my Telegram, my Discord, because crypto is a niche, but crypto mining is a niche of the niche. So
Yeah.
we are a very tiny community and we all know each other. And one other thing I kind of wanted to say too was the people that have, made videos for us on their YouTube channel, stuff like that. Like none of those guys were paid. They just did it. And that just shows like how great the mining community is, because they see what we've been working on and busting our butt on, and they want to support us and we support them. So that's just a great thing. And the podcast, I mean, that was another, educational thing, because there's a lot of people that I've noticed have been mining for a while, but they've kind of just been mining. I mean, they kind of mine just what's most profitable. They might not be that great at OCing their cards, being efficient, things like that. And then at the same time, there's things that we see now being with the actual HashR8 company, talking to farms, talking to all these big companies, right? Like we have a higher look now of what's actually going on above what someone tweets out thinking they know. Right.
Right.
So if people want the actual mining information, listen to our podcast and you'll get it. Like the whole minor capitulation thing, that was a great episode if people haven't listened to it. And, Meanhash talks about, the whole giant dump that we had, and people were talking about minor capitulation when in actuality it was people selling Bitcoin so they could buy mining hardware. So if people want to get the real inside information of what's going on with mining, listen.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. That's over at hashrate.com. And then when you check out the OS website, that's os.hashrate.com. And, if you were talking to somebody new to cryptocurrency who was curious and wanted to get involved with this whole, nebulous of mining, what would you say about HashR8 OS? Like, give me your elevator, your 2-minute elevator pitch to someone who's new and wants to get on board with mining cryptocurrency.
So I mean, the easiest way to describe what the OS does is it makes all of the stuff that you used to have to do manually and scour the internet for in order to be able to mine a coin, all put together into one place for you. So, you don't have to go find GitHubs that have all the different mining software on them. You don't have to go search the internet for pools. Basically it takes all of that stuff that you used to have to know how to do. And even earlier in our mining career where you actually had to know some of the programming to be able to set stuff up or run the mining software, basically just builds it all in for you and just lets you pick, okay, what do I want to mine? I want to mine this coin. I got to have a wallet for it. Let me put my wallet address in. I'm going to mine at this pool and I'm going to use this mining software. And then you click start. So, it takes a lot of that and makes it way simpler. That being said, it also has a whole bunch of tools and features added onto it that even the most advanced miners that have been around for years like us can jump into the OS and super fine tune the efficiency and the overclock settings and what pools they're running and everything else so that they can get the most out of their rig. So the idea is to make it super easy for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing to just jump in and try and start mining. And then as they learn more and more, still provide all the tools for even the most advanced miners to be able to use the system.
All right. And so I see that there's an image of a mobile app on the website. Tell me a little bit about how the mobile app can make things easier for miners.
Yeah, so in its current iteration right now, you can, it's mostly used for notifications. We're upgrading it, so soon it'll have all the features of the website built into the mobile app. But the great thing right now is you can still control your rigs from it. You can set up notifications, so that way when you're not at home, you can get every notification you can think of. Like if your rig reboots, that'll pop up on your phone as an alert. If you have a GPU failure, that'll pop up. It'll tell you what GPU it is. You can go into your phone app. You can shut that GPU off and then keep your mining rig up until you get home. So it's very good, easy way to use it. It's on Apple Store and it's on Google Play. So, like I said, pretty soon, all the functions of the website will be built into the app as well.
Nice. So you could be monitoring and then resetting things on the fly. You don't even have to be home physically present to, turn on and off the equipment. You can do it from on the road, basically.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice feature. And like I said, there's more features coming, but that's another good feature too, especially for if you're managing a very large farm, you can just use the mobile app if you're somewhere else in the country or in the world remotely from that farm.
All right, so now I got a screen grab of the actual HashR8 OS here, and I'm still connected to Meanhash's rigs. I got OS 12 and OS 8 on here right now, and it looks like they're mining Zcoin. And so I'm on the dashboard, and this is basically showing us an image of all the MPUs and what each individual graphics card is doing on the rig. And you can see basically the power percentage and the temperature and all that. So it's all like right here at a glance. You can even see like the total wattage that it's pulling from the wall, which is really cool.
Yeah, it actually has a couple cool features related to that. So, some of the stuff that we've done with having it be its own Linux distribution allows it so that it pulls a lot less system resources from things like the RAM and the motherboard and the CPU. So a lot of users we're seeing, somewhere between 2 and 8% at the wall that they're pulling less electricity, just because it's not pushing that hardware as hard. But there's other things too. So there's a lot of the ability to have auto fans or to, set your entire overclocking profiles that make it be much more efficient. And then also it keeps track of all of the usage for your system in reports. So you can actually go down to your reports and say, okay, I want to see, this is the electricity rate that I paid this month. And you can run a report on any date range you want, and it'll tell you how much it cost to run for your rigs for that month in electricity. So we're trying to add more and more stuff that makes it easy, for people to make sure they're running profitable, to actually help them run more profitable by having them use less electricity. And we have some really cool features coming that are going to make it a lot easier for people to switch to different coins. In a quicker manner that, will help them get to coins that are more profitable, even if it's just for short periods. More easily convert to specific coins that they want to hold. So if they're mining, a smaller project or a project that's pumping, they can easily switch a portion of that where it's paying them in Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever other coin they think that they would want to get paid instead. So, there's a lot coming related to that. I can't go too much into detail with all of it, but the idea is that in the near future, most people who mine, especially people who are advanced and do a lot of altcoin mining, they have bookmarks on bookmarks of references and sites they use to keep track of all of this stuff so that they know what to mine and when and which coins are the most profitable and how to make their overclocking settings right and everything. And we're going to basically just pull all of that information into here. And a lot of that's going to be through us building our own stuff or us partnering with companies like how we have with Zell.
Nice. And that's just going to further increase the ease of use for most people, right? So they don't have to do all that research, which has already been done. Now they just can take advantage of it being already incorporated into the OS itself. So the most efficient overclock settings for your particular graphics card or the most efficient mining software for your particular rig. And not to mention the fact that it's already that much more efficient from the wall. I mean, and just to put this in perspective, there's a lot of people who are familiar with Windows-based mining software. So I know on my YouTube channel in the past, I've done a lot of videos using Awesome Miner. And then very early on, I was looking at different mining engines, like even NiceHash, like it's all sort of, all in one situate, like a very simple kind of solution. How does something like HashR8 OS, stand against these kind of Windows-based mining operating systems? or not even operating systems, but mining programs, I should say.
So there's a few advantages to running it on its own operating system. So, one of the biggest advantages is the ability to access the rig from anywhere. So anywhere where you have a web browser or internet service on your phone, you can remote in and make changes to your rig without having to have remote in software, without having to deal with TeamViewer or lag or any of the different Windows remote options that are a mess. The other biggest thing is Microsoft loves to break mining rigs. Anybody who's mined on Windows 10 or Windows 7 or Windows 8 for any period of time knows that when new drivers come out, or new Windows operating system updates come out, it can bring a whole farm to its knees. And a lot of times it's not always that easy to get everything back up and running. With this, it's about as easy as plug and play as it could possibly be. And we actually have, for farms and people who have multiple rigs, there's what we call a mass install tool, that you can run on the local network where you're at, and then it can mass install it across a bunch of different types of hardware. And then as soon as that install's done and they boot up, they'll start mining as soon as they boot up based on some pre-set up settings you have in the OS.
Really?
So, like there's a lot of things like that, like, the key for big mining farms is efficiency and consistency. And so, downtime from a Windows update can kill a whole month's worth of profit. Because your rigs will be on, but they won't be mining. They'll just be sitting on like the login screens, and you're just wasting electricity. This system, it's designed so that even if there's power failures or anything like that, when the power comes back on, they boot back up and they start mining as soon as they boot back up. You don't have to log into each one and restart the miners or anything like that. It just is mining as often as possible.
Well, I was gonna say the other thing with these all-in-one OSs, like you were talking about with Windows, is that normally they take an extra fee because of the ease of use. So you've already got your pool fee that you're dealing with. You've got your built-in miner fee because most of them, Gminer, Claymore, they all have their fee. But then if you use one of these other all-in-ones, they might have another 5 to 7% fee on top of it just because of the ease of use for the end user. So we're taking that portion away because we're building our OS to be easy enough for people to use. And yes, like we have on our site, the first 3 rigs are free, and then after that it's $2 a month. But if you do the math, if you have however many rigs and it's 5 to 7% extra, I mean, that's more money that you're losing. So yes, you do have to do a little bit more work on our OS right now, but it's mining, right? The whole goal of mining is to actually learn how mining works and to do it yourself. So the all-in-ones are great, but you're really not learning anything. And we've seen that a lot with people, especially people that are coming from Windows. They've come to our Discord and they're lost, right?
Yeah.
And these are people that have been mining for a year plus, and they have no idea what they're doing because they're using these all-in-one softwares that they do the overclocking or they do the miner setup, all that stuff for them. So not only are you using an OS like ours that's more efficient and better, but you're learning on the way.
So I got up our Medium post from Zell, and can you maybe talk to us a little bit about how it was that you got connected with Zell, and what some of the things we could be looking forward to in the coming months?
Yeah, so we got to know Miles and Dan really well. We had them on our podcast a while back now. I think it was maybe 4 months ago. Don't know the exact date anymore. And we really got along with those guys. And we wanted to come up with some type of wallet solution to bring into the OS, and Zell just made perfect sense. And one of the things that really drew my attention to it is the UX. The Zell team just makes beautiful UX. I actually think when the mobile wallet first came out and the desktop wallet first came out, and way before I knew Dan or Miles, I had a tweet where I was talking about how nice looking and smooth running the UX was on the original mobile wallet for Zell. And part of that was one of those things that we wanted to expand our own knowledge of. So miners tend to build things to be efficient and uh, for lack of a better way to put it, rough around the edges. And our OS, we like the way it looks, but it's not what Miles would call, it's not pretty. And so what we're hoping and what we're working on with them right now is we're going to kind of do a makeover of the whole front end, where we're going to make things look a little bit more modern. Clean up some of the buttons, make it move some things around so they're in a little bit more user-friendly positions or more logical positions for things. And then there's going to be quite a bit of integrations of partnerships that we have with. You'll be seeing new tabs appear on the left-hand side for people that are familiar with it, of new things that are going to be available to users that'll be only inside of the OS. And there's quite a few that are coming. The Zell Core one is going to be huge. I know a bunch of our users like the Zell Core wallet, and I think that that'll be really nice. And actually, one of the things that Miles worked on for us, if you guys want to see what his skills are with the web design, he actually helped us redo HashR8.com. So that's kind of been one of his most recent things that he worked on with us. And he does a fantastic job. So we're really looking forward to not just integrations with Zell services, and apps and things, but leveraging each other's development teams to further build out projects and other products that we're going to work on together.
Well, I just got a little screen grab of my ZelCore wallet, and this is the ZelCore Plus view, which features the news section and the chart so that you can see what recent price action was. What involvement do you guys have with that particular side of things, as far as the integration into ZelCore? Because what you're talking about right now is essentially like wallet function being built into HashR8, right? So this kind of works both ways, right? So we're going to see, monitoring and functions that you could basically see the app in ZelCore now, right? That's kind of the goal.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think what we're working on with that is some of the things we're making a few changes related to the website on our web apps front end. Because those will affect some of the API pushes and pulls. But then basically what's going to happen is similar to the controls that you have right now in the mobile app. So you can see what you're mining, you can switch from different coins, you can do some overclocking, profile tuning, and things like that. And you can monitor the rig. Some of that information is basically going to be accessible via either push or pull through the API into the ZelCore app. And so basically what's going to happen is you'll be able to be in the Zell Core Plus wallet and have, at least the controls you will need once you have everything set up in our web app available to you. So if you already have a coin set up and you want to switch to mining a different coin you have set up, you'll be able to do that. If you want to check and see what your cards are running at temperature wise, you'll be able to see what they look like in there. And a bunch of that, I think, is all going to come together around the same time as we finish rebuilding or giving a makeover to the front end of our website, because part of that is unifying that design so that it all looks the same in how we want it to look in the ZelCore program and how it looks in our web interface.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us. And, we're really excited to see what additional development comes. And 2020 is surely going to be a game-changing year for crypto. And it's got to start right here at the foundation, if you ask me, with a custom-designed mining operating system just for miners. I especially love the tagline, mining as it should be. And that's so true because you guys have done all the work for everyone. And now you've made it so easy that it's almost like, yeah, this is exactly how it should be. So anybody can mine whatever coin they want. And it's as easy as putting in your wallet address and picking a pool. Perfect. So thanks for taking the time to meet with us today over here on the Core. And if you, for people to get in touch with you guys, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So you've got our @HashR8 OS Twitter handle. And then, of course, you've got the HashR8 OS Discord. And then if you have any issues, you can just email support@hashr8.com.
Excellent. Wow, fantastic. Guys, thank you so much again for joining us. And for everybody else, if you want more information about HashR8, do check out their website, hashr8.com. And for more information about the relationship with Zell and what we're doing with the Zell team, check out Zell.network, or you can check out our Twitter account @Zell_Core for the latest updates. Until next time, guys, you've been in the Core, powered by Zell Core Plus.